Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to be going through a 2026 NFL mock draft after the trade deadline. Tons of crazy trades that happened that certainly kind of shaked up what the first round looks like. And then we haven't done one of these for a couple of weeks. I do apologize. I've been very sick. I'm still kind of recovering from it, but we're going to go ahead and power through so we can get this mock draft to you guys since it has been a little while. So let's go ahead and just hop right into it. We're starting at number 1 with the New Orleans Saints. We have them likely looking at a quarterback here, and there's a lot of different options they could go with. I think Mendoza, Moore, and Ty Simpson are all kind of in that top pick conversation right now from the quarterback perspective. I think right now Mendoza is probably the front runner. He's going to have a lot of opportunities with the college football playoff, nearing closer, that he is going to have an opportunity to really show what he can do in that stage. But I think Mendoza has been really good this year. He has good size, a good arm. He can, be very accurate. He has really good stats this year as well. So I think right now the Saints are likely going to take a quarterback with that first pick, and it wouldn't surprise me if it is Mendoza there. Meanwhile, the Titans are not going to be taking a quarterback. Cam Ward has certainly had some ups and downs this season, but you're still going to continue to believe in him. So we're going to go ahead and take his old college teammate in Ruben Bain Jr. This defense absolutely needs an upgrade in its level of talent. You've got a couple of pieces on the interior, but you could really add one of those pieces on the edge. And Ruben Bain, while he hasn't had ridiculous sack numbers or anything, he's still putting up pressures. He's a true game wrecker. He's a guy who has absolutely been just the disruptive force on the defensive front, and I think the Titans would love to get a player like that on their defensive line. Next up, we have the New York Jets. They tore everything down, trading Sauce Gardner, trading Quinnen Williams. This team is in full-on rebuild mode for Aaron Glenn. Assuming he will be there next season, I do think you have to go with a quarterback here because it's just not been good enough with Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor. It's just not going to cut it. So I think quarterback is the option here. The question is Dante Moore or Ty Simpson. I think Simpson's been playing so well. His ability to, use play action, throw over the middle of the field, throw with the anticipation. I really do think he is catapulting himself into this top 5 conversation and certainly has a chance to be one of the top players off the board, if not the number 1 pick. So I think the Jets taking him at number 3 is very, very possible. Then at number 4 for the Miami Dolphins, quarterback absolutely could be in play, but I just think it is so difficult with Tua's contract situation. If you're going to go that route, we'll see. It's certainly within the realm of possibilities, but I think they ultimately go elsewhere, and I'm going to have them taking Arvell Reese out of Ohio State. You just traded Jalen Phillips. Reese, I know it says is a linebacker, but he is a freak as an edge rusher as well. He's got this long arm power profile to him, freaky athleticism, and then he's also good as a linebacker as well, but really where he shines is being a QB spy, using his athleticism to match quarterbacks, screaming off the edge, winning with speed and bend around the outside, or power with a long arm move. I mean, he is kind of the next Micah Parsons, I think, and so getting him at number 4, well, yes, it may seem like you're taking an off-ball linebacker at 4, and that's really rich. I think the Dolphins have needs there, but I also think you can put him on the edge across from Chop Robinson, assuming Bradley Chubb's not in the long-term plans for this team, and Arvell Reese certainly could be a very, very fun pick for them. Then at number 5 for the New York Giants, it feels like you potentially found something with Jackson Dart at quarterback, so I think they would want to surround him with as many pieces as possible. Ideally, I think the offensive line would be where they look, but this offensive line class as a whole has really disappointed. I don't think any of these guys have really played up to a top 10 pick, and I think the Giants, while the need is there, may look elsewhere, and I'm going to go with Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State, potentially wide receiver 1 in this draft. There's a lot of really solid options, though, with Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon up there as well, but I think Tyson just brings a great ability to, run great routes, win tough catches over the middle of the field. He plays with really good timing as well, and he wouldn't have to come in and necessarily be this team's dominant number 1 wide receiver, even though I think he has the potential to be that kind of player. If you give Jackson Dart, of course Malik Neighbors, and then add Jordan Tyson into that mix, I think that could be a really, really fun offense. Next up, the Cleveland Browns on the clock, and they've got 2 first-round picks here. I think that you could absolutely look on the offensive line. Once again, that's a huge need for this team, but I think quarterback has to be in play because you just have not found that long-term answer, and I think Dante Moore is kind of the last of the guys who I think are very likely first-round picks, assuming they all come out. Moore has some nice athleticism, but he also, does a good job getting the ball out on time. He has a powerful arm. I think that he is a really good, complete quarterback, even though he is just in his first year of starting at Oregon. He did start as a true freshman at UCLA, but, I think Moore is a very interesting player, somebody who's going to have a lot to prove as well when the college football playoffs come about. So I think Moore in that number 6 spot makes a lot of sense for the Browns. Take another swing on your franchise quarterback. Next up, we have the Raiders at number 7. I think the Raiders could also look to the quarterback position, but after those 3 are gone, I'm not sure there's a guy who has played themselves into the first-round conversation right now. I think for the Raiders, I am going to go with a big need here on the interior of the defensive line with Peter Woods. He's a great run stuffer. The Raiders just do not have much on this defensive line outside of Max Crosby. You've got Kuntz and, Tyree Wilson on the edge, but I think the interior after Christian Wilkins was cut, I think that has been a big-time problem for this team. So getting a guy like Peter Woods, who's great against the run, gives you some pass rush juice as well on the interior, I think that makes a lot of sense. Then at number 8 for the Cincinnati Bengals, I know the offensive line still could use some help, certainly in the guard spot, but this defense is just so beyond atrocious. They are so bad at tackling. They cannot cover anyone. They cannot rush the passer. I think you need a guy on the back end of this defense that is just smart, intelligent, can be very versatile, run around, make plays, and tackle. And I think that's Caleb Downs to a T. This team is so bad at tackling. Their communication, their ability to just get guys on the ground and get stops on defense is such a problem. I think adding probably one of the best players in this draft and one of the best players in the country in college football, even if it's a safety position where that might not always be as valuable, Jordan Battle and Geno Stone have been 2 of the worst offenders on this defense, especially when it comes to tackling and just being out of position. So I think the Bengals would love snatching up Caleb Downs at number 8. At number 9 for the Washington Commanders, this season has certainly kind of spiraled downward very, very quickly with Jaden Daniels' injury now. I think that offensive line certainly could be in play, but again, there's just not offensive linemen I love in this spot. So I am going to go with TJ Parker. They really need to get better at rushing the passer, and while Parker and Clemson have had a little bit of a down season statistically, coming into this year I thought Parker was the complete package, had a speed rush, power rush, a variety of pass rush moves. He's still been good this year. He's just not been quite as good as he was last year, but I think there is a lot to like in Parker's game, and I think Clemson as a whole is a bit of a mess. So I give him a little bit of grace for that, and I think the high-end upside for the Commanders at number 9 here could be really, really good, and you could have potentially just gotten your number 1 pass rusher. Next up for the Ravens at number 10, I also think that they need to add to the edge rush room. It's a position that I think that they have just struggled with a bit, and I originally wanted to go with David Bailey. It's, he's just the most productive pass rusher in college football right now. He's just a menace, but he's also really light, not much of a run stuffer. They already kind of have that guy in Mike Green, who has struggled a little bit this year for sure, but I think they still have high hopes for him. So we're going to go on the other side and get a powerful, heavy-handed edge who has good athleticism, is really responsible in his running lanes. That's Keldrick Falk out of Auburn. He's a guy who has great size, good athleticism, and is still kind of figuring out some of his pass rush plan, but I think when he is put in good positions to rush the passer, he has done it really effectively. So I think the Ravens at number 10 could be a really good spot for him. At number 11 for the LA Rams, this is via the Atlanta Falcons. I think that the Rams certainly have interest in adding to the corner room. I certainly considered Jermon McCoy as well as Mansour Delane, but I think we're going to go in another direction. Rob Havenstein is getting pretty old at that right tackle spot, and Spencer Fano has had a little bit of a down season, but he's still a really good player. He fits this wide zone scheme really effectively. He's got great athleticism. I think he is still the best offensive lineman in this draft, and so I'm going to go ahead and take him at number 11 for the Rams, and I think he is a perfect kind of scheme fit for them. Next up for the Cardinals, I think this team is another one that has some interesting pieces kind of across the board, but things are just not working out for them. I think they would want to get a little bit tougher in the trenches, and Francis Mauigoa, I think, could absolutely do that. He plays right tackle for Miami, which, they could certainly use the help there as well, but I think he could also slide in and be a really, really good guard. Not 100% sure where kind of the NFL is going to view him. At 6'6", 315, he is a decent size sized player, but I think he might be better suited for guard. Good thing for the Cardinals is I think they could use help at both of those slots. So Mauigoa, I think, makes a lot of sense for them at number 12. Then at number 13, the Texans on the clock, and I think they would have been really, really frustrated to see Fano and Mauigoa go right before them, but I almost feel like they've kind of pigeonholed themselves into this offensive line pick. I think the defense has been really good. CJ Stroud has not had a lot of time to throw. This offense has not been able to get a running game going. I think running back, is a need, but I'm not sure you can justify taking a running back when your offensive line looks as bad as it does. Unfortunately for them, this offensive line class has just really not come together at all. I am going to have them taking Caden Proctor, who is just freaky with how big he is. You look at him, 6'7", 366 pounds. He's still really young. He's a very talented player. I do think he might be best suited for guard, but ultimately the Texans just need help really kind of across the board on that offensive line. And so I think getting Proctor is a big-time step moving forward to trying to protect CJ Stroud and helping this offense be a little bit more coherent. Next up for the Cowboys at number 14, they have made a ton of moves over the past couple of days, and I think they are looking to revamp this defense. I think the corner position is still a big area of need. You have Bland, you have Trayvon Diggs, but that other corner spot is a big-time question mark, and I still think that, we'll kind of see how the contracts play out with those other guys. I'm going to have them taking Jamal McCoy out of Tennessee. He has not played at all this year due to injury, but going back to his tape last year, he was so dominant. I think if he can come back and be a player down the stretch for Tennessee, hopefully, that would be big for them. If not, you're at least getting him fully healthy, as he has missed all of this season. So, you fully expect him to be back and fully ready to go if he doesn't end up coming back this year. But his sophomore tape was fantastic. Next up, the Vikings on the board, and I think corner is still a big-time need for them as well. And I've really liked Mansour Delane's tape this year. 90.1 PFF grade. I think he's been really, really exceptional, kind of across the board. I think he's very versatile. Man coverage, zone coverage, he can run it all. They often ask him to shadow the number one receiver on these other teams, and I think he has done overall a very good job of that. I really do like Delane and think he should be kind of that mid-first round type of corner pick, and I think for the Vikings that makes a lot of sense for them. Next up, the Panthers. There's a lot of directions they could go. I like some of the wide receiver options here, but I do like Ted McMillan. I like some of what they have built. Assuming Bryce Young is going to continue to be the franchise quarterback of this team, I would love to build around that, but I also think this defense is missing a ton of pieces, and I am a big-time David Bailey fan. This guy just wins rushing the passer, and I get it, he's not an amazing run defender. He's not asked to do it all the time, but I think he's even a little bit better there than he sometimes gets credit for. But this guy just has so many different moves, can win in so many different ways, win with bend around the outside shoulder, win with a nasty inside spin move, and just once you're trying to get all of those and be laterally matching him, he'll just throw a long arm right into your chest and drive you backwards. He doesn't have that giant mass to him, but he is powerful enough that he can run through you if you're off balance. And I'm a big-time fan of David Bailey. I think he would just really add to this pass rush, which I think the Panthers really, really do need. Then number 17 for the Kansas City Chiefs, Carnell Tate. I just love this fit for them. He has become such a big downfield target for Ohio State. He is just so dangerous when left one-on-one because Jeremiah Smith is on this team. He is so good in contested catch situations. He's a great route runner, has very, very reliable hands. I think the Chiefs would be ecstatic to get a playmaker like that for Patrick Mahomes. And then at number 18, this is a very easy pick to me. Jeremiah Love has been on fire recently. He has been sensational. And I think for the Bears, this is a team that wants to run the football with Ben Johnson. I don't think DeAndre Swift is a very consistent runner. He has the athleticism, but I don't think he has very good vision. I think Jeremiah Love is the kind of guy who can just become that focal point of this offense. And I think the Bears would love getting a guy like that in their running back room. Next up, we have the Browns. This is from the Jaguars. We had them getting Dante Moore earlier in the draft, and I think adding a weapon would be big time for them. Again, I would love to add offensive line because this offensive line got old very fast. There's just not a ton of guys that I would love for them to take. I think overall, adding a weapon like Mekhi Lemon would be huge for this team. You just don't have a lot of guys to throw to for your young quarterback. And I think a guy like Mekhi Lemon, who just creates so much separation, it would be really, really big for being able to get the most out of Dante Moore and his development. So going to take Mekhi Lemon for the Browns at number 19. And then we have the Steelers at number 20. Quarterback certainly could be in play. I think, a guy like, I could see Garrett Nussmeier kind of being a guy that goes toward the middle to end of round one. Lenora Sellers, I do think, is going to go back to school. Sam Levitt probably as well. Mateer potentially as well. So, there's not a ton of quarterback options here. And I think they want Rodgers for next season as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get them another wide receiver. And, they just don't have anyone outside of DK for Aaron Rodgers or whoever this quarterback is going to be to throw to. And Denzel Boston is kind of within that George Pickens type of mold. He's that big contested catch type of wide receiver, 6'4", 209 pounds. You already somewhat have that in DK Metcalf, but I think the biggest misconception with Metcalf is he's just not really a good contested catch weapon. Boston absolutely is. He's that big body, will win in the red zone. And I think you now have kind of your downfield underneath yak guy with, DK Metcalf, and then Boston can be kind of more of your true X contested catch ball winner type. And I think that would be a really physical, very intimidating type of wide receiver duo to have to go up against with that much size. Next up for the Lions on the clock, I think they love to add to the trenches. Edge rush room absolutely could be in play to get a guy to go opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, but Vega Ione, I think, has had a fantastic season for Penn State. Despite how bad Penn State has been, he's been a fantastic pass protector. I think that he is a guy that has enough ability in the running game. You can plug him and play him day one at guard, and I think the Lions certainly could use that and would really like to get a player like that in their offensive line room. Next up, the Chargers at 22. I think they would have loved to get Ione. I think they absolutely feel like they need some help on that offensive line. There's not anyone else I really love at this spot for the offensive line, so we're going to shift to the defensive line, where I think they still do need some serious help. Cassius Howell is a really interesting player. He's incredibly productive, but he has 1 percentile arm length, which I think is going to scare some teams off. Romello Height is going to be a very, very old rookie. Both of those guys are also a little bit lighter as well. LT Overton is kind of the opposite of that. He is a true run stuffer. He is pretty decent as a pass rusher, but he more wins with kind of a power profile. He's 6'5", 278 pounds. I think he's the kind of player that Harbaugh would really, really like to get on this defensive line and toughen up the front seven. Next up for the 49ers, I think the interior of this defensive line is in pretty rough shape. You obviously have Alfred Collins, CJ West. Outside of that, though, a lot of those guys are kind of veterans who don't inspire a whole lot of confidence. I really like Christian Miller. I think that he is a guy that is a really strong run defender. I think when he's given opportunities to rush the passer, he's shown that he can do that as well. He's not super refined, but I think there's a lot of talent in there. And 6'4", 310 pounds, he's a ideal size. He's a big kind of defensive tackle that can give you a little bit of everything. So I think that adding him to this defensive front alongside Bosa and Mykel Williams once he gets back from injury next year, I think that could be really exciting for this 49ers team. Next up for the Cowboys on defense, we already gave them a corner in Jamal McCoy earlier. I think they want to continue to get tougher in the front seven, and I didn't love the edge room for kind of that scenario. Cassius Howell, Romello Height, R. Mason Thomas, all guys who are more of kind of designated pass rush type of players, and I don't think that Jerry Jones is going to be taking a guy like that. Caden McDonald, Amari Washington, Caleb Banks, all interesting players, but they now have Kenny Clark as well as Quinnen Williams, of course. So I think they're going to look at the linebacker room, and that's a big-time need for them. And Sonny Styles has been a really good player for Ohio State alongside Arvell Reese. Styles is kind of more of that true off-ball linebacker, but a guy that has really good athleticism. He was a former safety. He flies around, makes plays. He doesn't miss tackles. He's pretty good in coverage as well. So I think Sonny Styles as a first-round pick is certainly not, a bad reach, even considering positional value. So 6'5", 243 pounds. He's a big thumping linebacker with athleticism that I think the Cowboys would really like to get their hands on. Next up for the Bills, I decided to go to the edge rush room here. And Cassius Howell, like I said before, is a outlier when it comes to his arm length. And some teams are going to be very scared off by that. And I wouldn't be surprised if he drops out of round 1 because of that, even though he has been so productive this season. You look at his 10 sacks so far in 2025, 24.7 pass rush win rate. This guy has been fantastic getting pressure off the edge. That's exactly what the Bills need. I think that they, might be willing to take a chance on a guy like that when they're trying to compete for Super Bowls. Take a chance on a guy who otherwise might be a top 10 pick based on his production and, his athleticism. It's just kind of taking a chance on that outlier at pick 25. That might not be a bad selection for them. Next up for the Seahawks at number 26, I think they still want to continue to get better in this offensive line room. And on the interior, I think Connor Lew is a good option for them. He is injured and out for the season, but I think he is a consistent player, can play center. I think he has the ability to play guard as well. Just bring some, strength to that interior of the offensive line, which has been a big-time problem for this team for a while. It's been okay this year, but they've still certainly got some problems, and I think would certainly like to address that area of their team. Next up, we have the Rams at number 27. We had them taking Spencer Fano earlier in this draft, so we liked the value of the offensive line in that spot, getting the top guy off the board. And now I think they'd be pretty happy with that, with Avian Terrell on the board here. Again, like we kind of said with TJ Parker and Peter Woods, the Clemson team as a whole and defense as a whole hasn't necessarily been great, but I think Avian Terrell has had a really strong season. He's a little bit on the smaller side, but that's kind of something that the Rams lean into with their corner room. They don't necessarily care too much about that, and I think Terrell is a perfect scheme fit for them at pick number 27. At number 28 for the Broncos, I think Sean Payton would love Kenyon Sadiq. He's that kind of X-factor, true weapon over the middle of the field. He is a guy that has had some drop issues, but he has been really, really productive as well. He's a guy that can be effective after the catch. He has shown a lot of production as well, and I think that's something that, is valuable for the tight end position. I think he has a chance to be a higher pick. It's just kind of hard to see where a tight end might fit in for a lot of these teams compared to other needs, but I think the Broncos would be very, very happy to get their hands on a guy like Sadiq. Next up for the Bucs at number 29, going to go with Caleb Banks. You have Vita Vea, but you don't really have much of a player next to him. Banks has only played in one game this season. It was the LSU game before, he came into the season injured and is now injured again. He's a guy with a lot of talent. If you look back at his 2023 season, he was a lot more effective and obviously a very dangerous player. At 6'6", 330 pounds, he has the ability to be a run stuffer, but also gives you some pass rushing juice as well. So I think that the Buccaneers would really like to get somebody like Banks to pair with Vita Vea. I think that would be a very, very fun tandem for them. For the Patriots, I think all it is going to come down to is helping Drake May, whether that's a receiver, whether that's an offensive line. I decided to go with offensive line because I think that is a bigger problem for them. Caleb Lomu hasn't thrived this season, and I think there's a very good chance he goes back to school as just a true redshirt sophomore. He's 6'6", 308 pounds. He has good athleticism. He's a good pass blocker. He struggled a little bit as a run blocker this season, but if he does come out, I think the athleticism, the upside that he has, I think it could potentially make him a first-round pick. And for the Patriots, I think they just really, really need help on that offensive front. Then for the Eagles at number 31, this edge room is pretty light right now. I think that they have kind of tried to find ways to supplement it at the moment, getting Jalen Phillips. You brought Brandon Graham out of retirement. Those are some good short-term options, but Phillips just has not shown an ability to stay healthy. The other guys in the room are just not super inspiring after losing a lot of the guys that they've had. So I think Romello Height is a really interesting player. He's not a great run defender. He is a bit of an older prospect, but man, this dude has been able to rush the passer as well. This Texas Tech tandem has been just ferocious. He has some really good pass rushing moves. He's 6'3", 240 pounds. So I think he is a guy that the Eagles could absolutely love. We know they love, addressing the trenches. So I could see that certainly being the pick for them. Then for the Jets, they now have the Indianapolis first-round selection due to the trade with Sauce Gardner. And I think that the Jets have a lot of holes now. Obviously, we went ahead and got them Ty Simpson. You could go ahead and get them an offensive lineman or another weapon for Garrett Wilson to be paired with and give your young quarterback an option. But I also think that after losing Quinnen Williams, the middle of this defense is kind of left with a gaping hole. And I think somebody like Cade McDonald, who is a fantastic run defender, would be a really interesting option for them. He is a guy who is relatively young, 6'3", 326 pounds, is a junior, but he has stepped into the role of kind of that Tyreek Williams mold and been a great run defender for this team. I don't think that he is a great pass rusher at the moment, but he does just clog lanes, take on double teams really effectively, and I think he is the kind of guy that the Jets could really like adding at the end of this draft in the first round. That's going to do it for this 2026 NFL mock draft. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I do appreciate you sticking through, even though I sound sick and disgusting. I appreciate it, and always appreciate your guys' support. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this kind of content, please hit that subscribe button. While you're down there, hit the like button as well. Both of those things are just free and easy ways to support the channel. We are going to be going over some positional rankings here soon, so you won't want to miss it. Tons more draft content coming up. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one.